Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and this is another video on React. In this video, we're going to focus on working with forms in React. Okay, so let's get set up. Okay, so same file that I've been using for the last couple videos. I'm going to start up a server. CD into practice one, and then we'll use light server. Let that get started. Otherwise, I'm going to minimize this. Yep, there it goes. And that's where we left off. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make a form. So we're going to make another component. And we'll do it as a functional component. So actually first we'll do it as a class component. Const form 1. Because we'll do it as a functional component afterwards. Actually not const form 1. Class form 1 extends react.component. And then constructor super, and then we'll also have our state, because we're going to need our state for our form in a bit. This dot state, right now we're going to say equals an empty object. We'll add stuff as we go. Then we're going to have our render function, which will return our JSX. We'll wrap that in a div. Neat. And we'll go from there. And we're going to create a form. Although it doesn't actually really matter that you wrap it in a form tag for our purposes. So we'll just put a bunch of input tags. Input name equals, we have to make sure there's a name field. So the name equals, well, first let's put the type. Type equals text. Name equals name. Okay. Let's put another one. Okay, type equals text. Make sure this time we'll make it a number, and we'll say this is age. Okay, and then we will do a button. Submit form. Cool. So we have a form, doesn't do anything yet, but we should be able to put that into our app component. So I'm going to go back to app and put that below our counter. So I'm just get rid of this space here. And I'm going to wrap this all in a separate div. Now remember I was trying to do this as a fragment. The way I think you have to do it if I'm using the CDN, because I think that's what it has to do with why it wasn't working before, is I have to do react.fragment. So I could just do this. The only reason you'd want to do this is so that way you don't have a bunch of random divs in your DOM tree. React.fragment, I think it is. Let's put a slash here. Let me just make sure it's working. Nope, that broke it. Is it? I'm not gonna worry about it. Let's just put the random divs. And then below counter, we'll put form 1. Okay, save. Let it update. It must be complaining about something else then. It's complaining about my form 1 component, so let's examine this. Div, there's 2 divs. Button, button, button. I think these have to close. I think that's the issue. Because I think in JSX, another rule is that all tags must close. So in that case, even input tags, I have to make sure I put that self-closing tag. Just double check, I think that might be it. That's better. Each child in a list should have a unique key prop. Where do I have a list? Oh, it's in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so when you get that particular warning here, it'll generally work. It could cause weird hiccups at some times. Really what it's asking you to do when it's asking you for a key is that here, when I created this like h1 over and over again, I'm making a list of h1s. What they want me to do is this: key equals value. They want each one to have a unique key property. It just helps React figure out what's what. So that should get rid of that. And see, it's gone. And here's our form. Cool. So in that case, just to kind of figure something out, since we fixed that, does that mean I could use React fragment? And yes, that is correct. And again, the benefit is that now when I go to my div, like there's still a div here, but it's coming from somewhere else. That's actually the counter component. There's no div around the app component. And then this is the div that wraps the form component. So, because what happens if you use a div to wrap every component, you just start seeing lots and lots of divs here, and it gets a little much. Okay, so that's the story there. We have form 1. Now let's make this form do something. Okay, so the traditional way of doing this is you use a bunch of onChange functions. You have to create a function. So this would be onChange. Const. Here we would just do onChange. No. Form change, we'll call it. Okay, and basically we want this to save it to the state every time there's a change. So what we're going to do is we'll do this dot set state. I think this is to take the event. Okay. This dot set state. And basically what's going to happen is we're going to take the current state and spread that in there. So that way you have the existing state, whatever other properties we have in there. And we're going to add a new property. So actually this needs to be this dot state because this is a class. And this would be like this dot state. No, this would be we have to make a key, and the key will be e dot the event dot target dot name, and the value is, I forget if I think pretty sure to still put a semicolon there, and the value will be e dot target dot value. Okay, so that way, basically what it's going to do is going to dynamically add those properties in there. So there'll be, so as soon as I change name, there'll be a name property. So I should add those to begin with, though. So we'll have a property called name, which is just starts out as an empty string, and then we will have a age property, which starts out as a 0. Okay, save. Cool. And just so you can see how it changes, what we're going to do is we will have here an h1 where as that changes, we will have this.state.name. So this way you can see that the value is changing every time I change the form, because again, this is going to be an onChange event. And then this.state.age /h1. So essentially what's going to happen is that I'll change the name, and as each stroke of the key is going to cause it to reset the state, and this is going to cause it to change the property called name, because we're using the form's name property as the key, and then we're using its value, whatever I typed in, as the value. Okay, I have a feeling I might need to change this syntax in a second, but we'll try it out. Okay, and then we need to add the event. So in this case, we have to do a capital case, onChange equals. Now there's two ways I could possibly do this. One way we showed you in a previous video, which is basically I have to do this dot form change dot bind okay, and then I gotta pass in this, and then I can pass in any parameter, any arguments I wanted to pass it in the first place, which is the event. Cool. Actually, I think I just need to do that. Okay. Because E is not an argument. It will be passed as an argument, but the JavaScript does that for me, or the browser does. Okay, and then here, the other way I could do this is you pass in an arrow function. So the arrow function, again, is going to take the event, and then we're going to use the this.formChange function. Where we're going to pass in the event. But the idea is that the arrow function binds it to the class. Because basically the way arrow functions work is that they're going to, basically it doesn't have a weird flexible this. This works differently with arrow functions. Another one of the benefits of arrow functions, you don't have to constantly be doing this whole bind thing. So that should work. Let's take a look, see if we have anything with the cleanup. I think it will work. Got some errors to fix. Let's see, here's an expected corresponding JSX closing tag for H3. Oh, right here, H3. Let's save that. Okay, that's a positive sign. Yep, that all looks good. Okay, so let's see here. If I start typing in my name, and there you can see it's bound. Alex Merced, age 34. Okay. So basically every time I edit the form, it edits the prop value. And that's kind of how you bind the value of the form to your state. So now I can make use of the state. So now when I click the button, we'll create an event. So what I'm going to do is call form submit. Okay, I'm not going to really worry about any parameters, because all I'm going to do is console.log this.state. Okay, that update. And if I hit submit, oh, I never actually added the event down here, did I? Yep. On click equals arrow function. I prefer the arrow function method better. Form submit. There we go. Now we'll enter that in again. .34. Then I hit submit form, and it's completing. Form submit is not defined. Oh, this dot form submit. I hate classes, at least for React components. put in some gibberish. And there it is. Okay, so then now you have your object with all the data from the form, and you can do whatever you want with it. Okay, so that makes life a little bit easier. Cool. Okay, that's essentially how you would bind it to a form in a class component. Now let's make another form and make it a function component. So let's actually turn this class into form 2. So how would I make those changes? I'll make this form 2. I'm going to get rid of all this. So this is just going to be const form 2 equals props arrow function. Okay, I don't need the constructor anymore. I do need state. So I do need to redefine my state. So how do we do that in a function component? We're going to do this. This const state set state equals react dot use state, and then I'll pass in my initial state, which again is just the name with an empty string and the age with 0. Okay, these can stay the same. See, is there anything I want to change around here? Except I don't need the thises anymore. And I just have to make these. I either have to use the keyword function, or I can change these into arrow functions. I'm going to change them into arrow functions. Const form change equals e. There we go. Form submit. Const form submit equals. Cool. So that's fine. And then we don't need a render function anymore. We just have to return JSX, and then that does the trick. And in this case, it's no longer this dot state dot name, it's just state. Okay, and this time it's not this dot form change, it's just form change, and I don't need to bind it. Okay, so I can just do that. Nice. And then here on form submit, same thing. I can just do this. See, that's a lot nice and smoother. Cool. And let's actually go put this in our app component. So let's put form 2 after form 1. Close the tag. And see, now we have a second form. Let's test it out. Oh, we made a mistake somewhere. So you cannot read property state of undefined. Let's see here. Oh, wait a second. Let's see here. Where is that? State.name. Well, we do set state right there. That's state. So where is it? What's it? Cannot read property state of undefined. Where did we mess up? Oh, let's see here. Here's where we messed it up. This. Get rid of this. State. Get rid of this. That should fix it. Again, know this for function components because it's a function. And now let's do. See, that works. And then I put that, and it works. And then I hit submit form, and the console logs it. Okay, so it's the same deal. It's just again different syntax. So there's a form component. There's the class component. But you can see, like, the form, when you do it as a function, it's just a little bit more concise because You're saving the lines of having to define a constructor and having to define a render function, and then it's nice to be able to just use arrow functions for everything. Okay, so that's neat. The only other thing I want to show you is something called a ref. So another way I could change how I do this is that instead of doing it this way, I could use what's called a ref. So I can create, so let's say const name ref, and what ref stands for is like a reference. You can do this in classes too. I think you have to use like a function called like create ref, and then it'll create a ref. But I usually only do this in function components. So, but what it does, it creates a reference to the HTML tag, and you can access to all the properties of the HTML tag like it was a normal DOM element, which is useful. I mean, I just use it for form values, but okay. So it's name ref, and we just do equals react.useRef. Okay, and it just starts as null. So that's going to be for the name field, and then we'll do another one for age ref, and that'll equal react.useRef. Okay, and again, it'll start as null, and then we can attach these to these form inputs. So we just put a ref property, and we just say that ref equals name ref, and that binds it. And then here I just do ref equals age ref. So technically I don't even have to do this whole onChange function anymore. So I should be able to just take this off now. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to change the form submit. So that what happens on form submit, well, first let's console log then the refs. Console.log name ref and age ref. Okay. So now if I just put some text in here, so it's not updating anymore because it took off the onChange function. So it's no longer automatically updating the state with each keystroke, which is not a bad thing, because why would you want this thing like rendering like a bunch of times? That's just, making the browser do more work and slowing things down if you have a lot of stuff going on your page. But now I hit submit, and here we go. So here we have the two inputs. Okay, boom, boom. And then we go further into the current, and you see you have all these values. Okay, all I really want is this value. So that's what I'm going to be changing into the state. So basically now all I do is this. Set state. Set state. Then I put in a new object that represents the new state. Name ref dot current dot value, and then we'll do age, which is going to equal age ref dot current dot value. Save. Okay, unless you really wanted to re-render every time you do a keystroke, this is just another way to handle the form. And so now I just put in my information, 45, and then when I hit submit, see, it updates the state. Okay, so it's only one re-render. Also, you have access again to all that other information about the actual HTML element that you saw in there, in that ref object, which can be used for other things. Like one thing I've used it for is that sometimes you're using like a component from a third-party library, and you want to access the HTML elements inside that component. The ref gives you access to the component, and then you can kind of dig within the component to find all of its individual pieces in case you want to use like a function that's buried in there and whatnot. It's pretty useful. Sometimes it seems like it's definitely better than not having refs, but sometimes it's like, oh, this is a lot of work just to use a function of something else. But it's a way to do it. So that's kind of how you work with forms out of the box with React. There are libraries to help you work with forms like Formic. Um, so that's an option. Though, once you know how to do it, it's not too bad. It doesn't take too long. Um, but yeah, I mean, ForMake also just gives you a little bit of tools to like make it easier to start it with like set values in case you have like certain values you want to pre-populate the form with, and some other really cool, and creates like components for like every. Um, it's a nice tool for those who want a little extra beef with their forms. But yeah, this is forms in React. So I'll see you guys later on. So what we've learned how to use the useRef hook. We've learned how to do forms in class and functional components, and we reiterated how this whole fragment thing works. Nice. And we also reiterated another rule of JSX, which is that tags must always close. So even inputs in normal HTML, which you don't have to put a little closing slash into, in React you do, in JSX you do. In JSX you have to close every tag. There has to be one parent tag, so that means you wrap it in a div or a fragment or something. Yeah, and again, the state, you're always creating a new state, so you got to make sure that you do something like this with the state. You don't technically have to do this with class components, but I always get in the habit with both, so that way I'm not constantly worrying about switching between function and class components. So in the case that the idea is that you're basically rebuilding the state. So I always start with this, saying, hey, I want all of the old state, and then I just create the things that I'm replacing on top of that. So, cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you guys later on. Have a great day and enjoy.